Good morning from Carlsbad Caverns National Park. We just wrapped up the last stop on our 15-day road trip, and it's time to start the 1,100-mile journey back to St. Louis. We hope you'll come along for the ride. We're going to be covering 1,100 miles over the next 2 days. Today, we're traveling to Amarillo, Texas, staying in the same hotel we stayed at on our first night. We encountered some delays in charging on that first day, so let's see how things go today. We're leaving Carlsbad Caverns with our battery at 61%. We're heading to Hobbs, New Mexico now, as it's home to the only level 3 charging station before we get back to a Tesla supercharger in Lubbock, Texas. The stretch between Carlsbad Caverns and the Francis Energy Charger in Hobbs is about 98 miles. This will be our third visit to a Francis Energy charging location in New Mexico. According to PlugShare, some of the sites are more reliable than others. There were some sites that I even planned to avoid. If there had been any other options available, I would have also avoided this one as well. The reviews look like it works about 50% of the time. The first charger we hooked up to would not start charging no matter how many times we tried disconnecting and reconnecting. Unfortunately, this charger looked like it was the more reliable one on PlugShare. Time to move and try the other one. This one also would not start. I ended up calling the Francis Energy customer service line to see if they could do anything remotely, and they seemed stumped. Until they realized I was charging a Tesla, and so the blame was placed on my CCS adapter, the same one that worked fine yesterday at 2 different identical Francis Energy chargers in other locations. After realizing they weren't going to help me, and there were no other level 3 chargers I could reach to continue on to Lubbock, I tried disconnecting and reconnecting a couple more times, and magically, it worked. We pulled into this charger at 11:45 and didn't get the charger to do anything until 12:05. Once it started, it only took us 14 minutes to go from 25% to 58%, which was more than enough to get us to Lubbock, Texas, and back onto the supercharger network. It's inconvenient and a bit stressful to have issues like this when your options are limited. However, this station didn't even exist when I visited the Southwest last year, so hopefully things will continue to get better in more remote areas like this. We made it to the Texas state line, onward to Lubbock. The drive to Lubbock is uneventful and not super interesting. Just lots of flat, straight roads and not a whole lot to look at. The supercharger in Lubbock is at a Tesla service center, which is a first for me. It was nice though, because I've been having some software issues on this trip, and I got a chance to chat with a service advisor about it while I charged. We charged for a total of 16 minutes and took the battery from 21% to 67%, more than enough to get us to Amarillo, where we'll be stopping for the night. The drive from Lubbock to Amarillo is about 130 miles. It took us just under 2 hours. There's a supercharger right next to our hotel, so after checking in, I'll be charging up so we're ready to take off in the morning. Our charging session in Amarillo was 47 minutes long. We charged the battery from 17% to 91%. After charging, we grabbed some dinner and went to bed. It's the next day, and we're getting an early start for the final leg of our trip. Our first stop today is going to be in Weatherford, Oklahoma. That's 197 miles from here. It should take us about 2.5 hours, which is my max before needing to stretch. We arrived in Weatherford with 10% remaining. We charged up to 79%, which took us 31 minutes before continuing on to our next stop, Tulsa, Oklahoma. The drive to Tulsa was 169 miles. It took us 2 hours and 18 minutes. This charging stop was a quick one, 15 minutes to go from 14% to 62%. We decided to skip grabbing a sandwich at this Jersey Mike's here and instead get lunch at our next stop in Joplin. We'll be regretting that one in a little bit. The drive from Tulsa to Joplin is our shortest leg of the day, 114 miles in an hour and a half. This come and go has had some solid food options on previous visits, and this is a longer stop, so it made sense to plan on eating here. Lunch ended up being pizza and Doritos. Not exactly what I was looking for. This is our second to last charging stop of this entire trip. We charged from 18% to 88% in 34 minutes. Time to get back on the road. Our last charging stop in Rolla, Missouri happens to be one of my least favorite superchargers. This charger is at a barbecue place that isn't too bad, but isn't great either, and if you're here in the morning or late at night, they're closed, and there isn't much around it. We were only here for 20 minutes though, long enough to go from 17% to 59%, and more than enough to get us home. From Rolla, we only have 100 miles left, and it'll take us 1.5 hours to get there. While we wrap up this final leg, let's recap the trip stats. We were on the road for 15 days and covered 4,700 miles. We made 25 supercharger stops. We visited 7 states, 8 national parks, 3 national monuments, and for the geeky people, we averaged 334 watt-hours per mile. This was an amazing trip. We got to visit a number of places I've been wanting to visit for years, and places I wasn't able to visit just last year due to limited charging infrastructure. I hope you enjoyed coming along on this journey with us. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified when our next adventure is live. If you haven't watched the entire 15 episodes of this trip, here's a playlist for the trip. Thanks for coming along on this electric adventure.